On this episode of Locked On Angels, do the Halos need to find a new TV partner? And will Rendon actually get healthy and stay healthy and play all season long? And who you got, Johnny, in the playoffs and everydayers? Let's talk playoffs on Locked On Angels. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us, to be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, this is our third off season with you here on Locked On Angels. Wrapped up our third season last week, and we'll be continuing into the off season 5 days a week for the foreseeable future. You know, around late December, we'll go down to 3 episodes a week. But for now, 5 episodes a week. And there's always lots to talk about when it comes to the Angels. In fact, on today's show, we're going to share our playoff picks. Normally, we don't get a chance to do that, but I think it could be kind of fun. And we want to hear yours as well. We're wondering what Rendon can do to try and stay healthy. He's got some insight and a plan into that. But first, Mike, what in the world? We got more Bally Sports news, and things are up in the air, and we're not sure if they're going to be on radio or TV or satellite or direct. No, I'm just kidding. It's just another step in the Diamond Sports Group bankruptcy, isn't it?
Yeah, The Athletic reported that the Diamond Sports Group, and they own Bally Sports, they've submitted a reorganization plan to drop the broadcasting rights of 11 teams and only keep the Atlanta Braves broadcasting rights.
Wow.
This is the part of the process of their bankruptcy proceedings. Diamond is going through the bankruptcy process, and Diamond Sports Group is going to drop the Tigers and the Rays. They also had deals with the Guardians, the Twins, the Rangers, the Brewers that expired after this season.
So 2 current playoff teams, no, 3 current playoff teams, the World Series champions from last year, and they're going to drop those. All right. Well, they expired. Some of them expired. They're going to drop Tigers and Rays. That's crazy to me. Now, there are some things that we'll get into about renegotiations and whatnot, but keep going, Mike.
Yeah, and then, okay, so here's where the Angels sit in this conversation. They are still under contract for 2025, but they can't be assumed, meaning keep, or rejected, meaning dropped, because they are known as joint venture teams. Evan Drellich of The Athletic does say that Bally has walked away from joint venture teams in the past. The Padres had that classification when Diamond stopped playing them and showing them, paying them in the middle of 2023. A lawyer, Johnny, for Diamond Sports Group said that the new plan they submitted Wednesday in court will answer what will happen to teams' telecast agreements and how Bally plans to pay their bill. What a mess this is.
Right. And it's all because we got here when Disney took over Fox. They sold the Fox Sports portion, and Diamond Sports Group took it over. What an investment to make. Cable television,
right,
in the year 2020. When was that? 2022, I think, is when Bally took over. But the deal was done, I want to say 2019, and then it was like a few more years of Fox Sports. But yeah, what a great foresight to have take over a lost cause, right, Mike?
So and they're opening up Blockbuster, I think, next week. Bally Sports is so.
Bringing it back, baby. That actually might do well. I would.
Yeah, sentimentality, right? We're bringing everything back.
That's right. Those Pizza Huts with like the dining rooms. Remember those?
Oh, I'd go. I'd go.
Gotta have those red glasses and then
Yep.
like the green chandeliers, all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so where does this put the Angels? Here's the thing. It seems like the Angels would have to accept whatever plan Diamond Sports Group has put forward. So whether that's renegotiating the contract, paying more, paying less, a different pay structure, that kind of remains to be seen. But Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register did say that the Angels are confident that fans will not see a disruption in the way they have been receiving their broadcast. Also, the big question here when this news came out was, is this going to affect the team's payroll? Jeff Fletcher also wrote that it remains to be seen whether those new terms will cause a reduction in revenue and thereby payroll for the Angels. The team is hopeful there won't be a dramatic decrease in revenue, but his source said that the restructured deal could be done within a couple of months. So here's the thing. I don't think the broadcasting is going to change for the Angels. I think the big question on everybody's mind, Mike, is how does this affect the team's value? How does it affect their payroll? And is this something, here's how I want to put this. With Arte Moreno and the value of this team, if he's going to lose revenue from broadcast rights, does this incentivize him to sell, or does it de-incentivize him to sell? Because if you're not getting the revenue, that also lowers the value of the team. Those are all my random thoughts. I want to hear from you. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking that like the best move for the Angels, I think, would be to get all of the rights that they can, like the Padres did. Like I would try to get my streaming rights. I would try to get digital rights. I would try to get all the rights. I think this is an opportunity to kind of do that. I mean, Artie's really good at fleecing people when the chips are out, and so maybe this could happen, right? But I mean, the Angels haven't had anything along those lines, and I'll be honest, like watching Bally Sports and watching it on the app has not been great.
No, it's not great. Terrible experience.
Right. It's not great. And so when it says that nothing's going to change for the Angels, I was like, dang, I wish it kind of would. Right.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, is an opportunity for the Angels. If they have any foresight, then they need to perhaps move forward and try to see what they can negotiate to get their rights back, and then maybe sell it to someone else. I don't know what the details look like within the organization and also within Major League Baseball, but I think now is an opportunity to at least explore some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, there is an agreement for this year with the Ducks and a new service, as far as I know, Victory Plus, I think is the name of the channel and the streaming service. Basically, all the Ducks games are going to be available to watch.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to is, hey, no, there's not a paywall here. You can get access to these games. I think they're even going to be on basic television, that sort of thing. Remember the good old days when you could watch the Angels on Channel 13 or KCAL 9 or something like that, like KTLA 5, that sort of thing. It's just so crazy how convoluted this has all become. And it comes back to ownership trying to get as much, not just Angels ownership, don't get me wrong. It's all of this cable stuff that the teams went to a few years ago. And now it's just an insane mess. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the company behind it, it's not profitable. And so they have to renegotiate these things. Who knows what this means for the Angels? I would assume, Mike, if I had to guess here, it would be a decrease in Bally's paying for the rights to the Angels.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly not going to be more. It's,
right.
I mean, good grief.
Right.
And maybe the pay structure is different. Maybe it's, a more simple way of structuring this pay structure where it's like, hey, maybe a lot up front, maybe a little during the season. I don't know what that means, but basically they think they're going to have this sorted out within a few months, but it's the off season and the teams need to know what revenue is coming in and what's going out. And it does not make me, for as little confidence as I had in this offseason, this does not make me more confident, does it?
No. And I was really excited when there were like rumors and whispers of Amazon potentially having some sort of relationship with baseball. And
Mhm.
gosh, give it to Prime Video, give it to somebody that knows what they're doing and are broadcasting games currently, because right now Bally's hasn't proven that they can actually do that and do that well. And you're right, it's off season, and now we don't know what money's coming in. And I think didn't we just have this conversation last off season or the off
yes,
season
we
before,
did.
right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, we're back to that.
Yeah.
Here we are, right? And then I think that actually impacted how some of the teams went about what they went about doing last offseason, especially with those 4 or 5 guys that were signed late and even in spring training, Blake Snell being one of them. And I know that was part of their agent. But
Scott Boras,
yes, I know that was part of that. But also, I think a lot of teams were like, oh, we probably need to hold back, except for the Dodgers. We probably need to hold back a little bit and not pay here. I feel like this move will impact teams that only operate in the now, right now. What are we doing now? I don't think it'll impact teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, who seem to have some really good minds that are working together to go, oh, hey, what about what we do at this point or at this time? Because they know how to recoup their resource and they know how to sell their team on a really strong brand. But it seems like the Angels are in the second category. We're just not really sure what to do unless we have a really big superstar. So wouldn't it be ironic if this offseason the Angels do go and get like Juan Soto, right? Because Artie's like, I don't know what we're going to do without any sort of like brand. And so let's get a big money guy and then let's just sign him and then we'll move forward, right? Like I could see him going back to the well of his old philosophy to try to make this work.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Yankees have their own network. Dodgers have their own network.
Yes.
Essentially, I mean, the Yes Network is Yankees. I think Spectrum Sports, correct me if I'm wrong, they're like exclusive Dodger broadcasting rights. And so I think it makes sense that those things aren't going to have a shakeup, right? Those things are pretty stable and those teams are pretty stable. Plus the branding and Yankees, Dodgers, it's like, it's like it's like Disney.
Yeah. Well,
no pun intended or no irony intended there.
And they're watchable teams. And so I think that's where these organizations that like the Yes Network and Spectrum, they made good investments because they invested in watchable teams, right? And so I think that this is an opportunity for baseball teams, but specifically with the Angels. Like I don't know how much freedom they have. I haven't looked at the details, but if I'm the Angels, I'm looking for that opportunity. But again, like I don't have any confidence in the upper management of the Angels outside of them going, well, if we make one more penny than we spent, then it's a successful season.
Right. Here's my thing. Going back to my question of whether this incentivizes Artie to sell or not to sell or what have you. If I were in charge, I would claim all the rights I have to the Angels. The infrastructure is already there with who you have for cameramen, broadcasters, all of that stuff, right? And if something were to happen, MLB would take that over. If the Angels were to launch their own network, I know that it would be AM 830 on TV. It would be, state media on TV. But that certainly would be a lot more money because then you could shop it around to DirecTV and YouTube TV and all that stuff. So in the long run, I think it would make this team more money. In the short term, it wouldn't. And because they're so afraid of what they make today and tomorrow and what they made yesterday, they don't have, again, the foresight to see the money on the table that they could bring in. I know there's a lot more than what I listed that goes into it, but man, I think if you let this play out and you had the rights to your own team and you got to be in charge of where it goes and who you sell to and who broadcasts it, you take out the middleman. Essentially, you take that out. It's a little bit more cost on you at the beginning, but I think there's money to be made there. I just don't think that the Angels are up for it to make it happen. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, a reminder, this Sunday is your due date, everybody, to grade the 2024 Angels. Our roster report cards are coming out starting Monday. So in the episode description, there's a link you can click where you can fill out the roster report card. I'll make it the top comment on YouTube like I've been doing the last few days. And it's also, the link is available on social media as well. Coming up on Locked On Angels, injury updates, including Anthony Rendon. What's he going to do to stay on the field? Let's talk about it. We'll get to that conversation coming right up.
Today's episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Tonal. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps you to get stronger. It's powered by AI, but it won't take over your life. It actually will help you to be stronger. It learns with every rep so that it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. It's like having a personal trainer at home to help you prioritize every single workout. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. And with Tonal, you can get an efficient workout personalized just for you, and they're available in the amount of time that you're available. From professional athletes to moms of three, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest, and they have a smart training system built in that takes the guesswork out of working out so that you can make sure that you're making the most of every rep. And right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off every purchase with the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. Again, Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $200 off.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and everydayers tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow. I can't wait. The Ohappy AllStar Bowl. You are invited to join us. Hurry and get your tickets. They're in the episode description. It's being put on by Logan O'Hoppe, his teammates, former Halos. It's going to be so much fun, and the goal is to raise money for Corey's Promise. Corey Phelan was a teammate of Logan's in the Phillies minor league system, tragically passed away from cancer, and so this nonprofit helps walk alongside families and offset the financial burden that comes along with pediatric cancer and families who are dealing with that. So we're raising money. The proceeds are going towards Corey's Promise, and we get to bowl together. Mike and I are going to be there. We've got some Super Halo Bros merch to give to our everydayers. It's happening tomorrow, October 5th at Cal Bowl in Lakewood from 1 to 4 p.m. And when you want to go and you decide to go, and I hope you're doing that right now, there's a link in the episode description. You can go there, use our promo code BROS, B-R-O-S, so that you can get $50 off your ticket. We can't wait to see you. It's going to be so much fun to hang out with you. We'll be wearing our merch. We got merch for you, and we hope to see you tomorrow at the Ohappy All-Star Bowl.
How about some injury updates, Johnny? Let's talk about Samuel Aldeguerri, a left-handed pitcher, obviously a young guy we were excited about. They got in a trade for Carlos Esteves. He stopped pitching at the end of the year, had a left middle finger blister, was shut down on September 15th. Word is that he's expected to return. Everything will be fine. It's just a blister.
I hope so.
Yeah, right. Angels decided to be really cautious with him, which you don't want to waste pitches in a season that they just had. Although it was really great to see him. Loved his grittiness. Loved his mindset on the mound. Loved that he knew what he was doing. Loved it, like afterwards having the bandana on his head, and his interviews were like, "Yeah, man, totally know what I'm doing and working on it." It was great to see. He
was a guy who needed to get the nerves out, right? And when he first started against the Mariners and had that awful first inning, obviously the air didn't help him either, but he struggled to get
out of the inning without that air.
And he struggled to get out of the inning after the air. But it felt like in the few times we got to see him after that, I like a crafty pitcher, Mike. Yeah. And if he continues to be a crafty pitcher, I'm really excited to watch Aldeguerri on the mound.
Yeah. Ben Joyce had a right shoulder impingement. And so all of the doctors in the room will know what that is. And all of us normal people are like, not
Angels
sure what that
top
is.
Plays, Dr. Top plays.
Right. It was some shoulder discomfort, and he was playing catch on September 6th. The Angels decided to put him on the IL on the 10th because he wasn't ready to pitch yet. They did give him some days off. He did undergo an MRI exam on September 12th, and on the 15th, it came back clean. All indications are that he will also be back in 2025 and ready for spring training, and perhaps holding down the closer role.
I think he's going to have to going into this season. He's got to be our closer. And here's the thing. We talked about how do they keep him healthy over the course of a full season because he does throw so hard. It's two things. One, it's using the splinker the way that he has. It's not him relying on just the four seam at 100 plus miles an hour. But two, he's a legs guy. And all of his velo comes from the fact that he pushes off really hard with those legs. And so I think that He's got repeatable mechanics. An impingement, it's a discomfort. It's a, it's kind of what it sounds like, a pinch, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's just the, it's a matter of keeping yourself loose, keeping that shoulder from tightening up, that sort of thing. I think there's going to be a lot of success for Ben Joyce in 2025.
And then, of course, Zach Neto had the right shoulder irritation sliding into second base, and then immediately held his shoulder and didn't look good, right? And the Angels were awaiting some more tests on the right shoulder. They're not expecting that it would have any effect on his off-season prep, and that everything will be normal for him. So that's good news for Zach Neto, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I still laugh at right shoulder irritation.
Right. This season was an irritation and an impingement, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, those are the words we're going to be using from now on.
Now, this segment culminates with a conversation about Anthony Rendon. He had a left oblique strain along with a lot of other issues this last season. There is an expected return in spring training. Now, Rendon said this after the season ended. He said he plans to meet with the Angels and the training staff to come up with a better offseason routine to stay healthy next year. John, I, 2 questions for you. The first question is, do you think that Rendon is at a place personally, emotionally, in his mind, in his heart as a ball player, where he's really frustrated with the injuries, and so he's going to do whatever it takes to try to stay on the field and return to his former days of glory? Do you think that this now is as irritating as it is to fans to Anthony Rendon?
I think it's irritating to him, but not to the extent that you just mentioned, where he's like, I want to get back to my glory days. I want to do this. I want to do that. Mike, I think he's just irritated that he's hurt all the time.
Yeah.
But to decide that between 24 and 25, now I think I'll sit down with the Angels and figure out a routine and try to stay healthy. I mean, good grief. Why are we not doing this the minute you got hurt between, 2021 and 22?
Sure.
I think it's silly. I mean, it's good. At least there's a plan, but we weren't doing this 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's no indication that he wasn't, but I mean, now there's like a lot of conversation about it. But that's the thing with Rendon, is that you never know what's going on in his head and what he's doing in the offseason, because he doesn't communicate well to the media or to anybody.
Well, and I think that's the difference between this year and last year, is that he did express frustration this year. Last year, he was, Daffy Ducking all over the locker room and avoiding Sam Blum and stuff like that, trying to make little jokes and whatnot. But this year, there was actually some legitimate, like, man, I don't know what else to do unless it's steroids, and he was joking, but it's just like, yeah, you know what? Give us the 60 homers and then lose the 80 games that you don't play anyway. We'll let you get suspended. But that's the thing, like, is just, are we past this idea that Rendon is going to play a fully healthy season? Of course.
Yeah.
If we're still banking on that, which it doesn't sound to me like Perry Manassian is banking on that.
Hope not.
For goodness sake. But we're way past that. And that's okay, because it gives opportunities to whoever we need to put out there. I believe that Luis Rengifo should be starting every day at third base. There was a question mark, last offseason of, well, is he going to play second? Is he going to play third? What's he going to do? Put him at third. Yeah. That's all you have to do. Third base. And I actually, I don't know what the plan is with Christian Moore. I don't know if they're going to add a second baseman or whatever, but if it's not third base, it's second base. But Rengifo's in my starting lineup, not Rendon.
Yeah.
And especially the way that Rendon played this season, we've talked about it before. He used to add value. This year, no value at all.
No.
And if he comes into spring training and makes a reasonable case for himself that, hey, I still got it. He hits 5 home runs over spring training. He's playing in games in spring training and not skipping out, and Ron Washington puts him in the lineup. He just needs to put what he's done over the offseason on display in spring training if he wants to play. The problem is that if he wants to play, that's my biggest hang up, I think, when it comes to Anthony Rendon.
This episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking. Yeah, explore those U.S. cities that you've always secretly wanted to learn more about, with hotels and bed and breakfast and vacation rentals and resorts and so much more on Booking.com. You just might find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. Maybe it's time to taste test your baseball competition's stadium cuisine. And with Booking.com, you can find the right stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choice across the United States, you can go incognito to all of your baseball rival cities. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
Mike, a few days ago, Inside Halos on Instagram, a great follow for Angels fans, reached out to us and said, hey, want to do a little collab, put some brackets together for the playoffs. And I was like, sure. And so I did it on your behalf because you're a very busy man. You're in high demand. But I also don't think that you disagreed with the picks that I made. So I we don't get a lot of opportunity to talk beyond the halos, and people have asked us to do that in the past. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of visit that bracket. I've got it here on the screen for those watching, but for those on the audio side, I just want to say that we called the Tigers beating the Astros and San Diego beating Atlanta. Now, we were wrong about the Orioles beating the Royals. And full disclosure, we're recording this prior to the conclusion of the Mets-Brewers Game 3, but we do have the Brewers moving on. Mike, I looked at the matchup before we jumped on our recording, and it's Jose Quintana for the Mets versus Tobias Myers for the Brewers. And if you'll remember, Tobias Myers is the one who dominated the Angels earlier this season. Mike, what is it about these quick wild card series? I kind of like them. I mean, it's almost like anything can happen. What do you say?
Yeah, Tobias Myers owes us, so he better win. I think what I love about these quick 3-game sets is that it is a toss-up. And what we've seen in the history of this kind of format, and even the wild card format, is if one of those wild card teams get hot, then watch out. And that's exactly what has happened with Detroit. In fact, I think that Detroit has a really good shot. I know that in our bracket, we have them losing in the ALDS to the Guardians. But I think, John, I would not be surprised if they make it to at least the ALCS. And it seems like a lot of baseball fans and everydayers believe the same thing. I've had so many that have reached out and texted me and said, what do you think about the Tigers? And I'm like, I'm in, man. I like what they can bring to the table. I know AJ Hinch has the cheating scandal on his resume, but there is something about the way that he manages a team that I really like. He is able to keep these guys together. And remember, the Tigers were quote unquote sellers.
Yeah, they sold
at the break, right? And everybody was like, how come they didn't trade Skubal? How come they kept him? And then the Tigers were like, well, this is a guy that you hang on to. This is an ace that you want. Gosh, it's so great that they didn't, right? Because they were able to turn it on with some of their young guys and figure out how to get to the postseason. And so it gives a lot of hope to really pathetic organizations like ours, because maybe just a couple of moves and a couple of shots in the arm, and the Angels could find themselves in a competitive window to try to get to the playoffs and maybe sneak into the playoffs like the Tigers did. But it seems like these young teams that are sneaking in have a lot of momentum. So watch out to those bigger teams, like the Orioles, for example, with the Royals. Watch out to those bigger teams that have more wins, because they're coming for you.
Yeah. I tried not to go with my heart, but I would really love to see San Diego go all the way. But I do have them dropping the NLCS to the Phillies. So in this bracket, I've got the Yankees-Phillies World Series. I think the Guardians will defeat the Tigers. I'm pretty sure the Yankees, I had them over the Orioles, but obviously the Orioles didn't make it. So I think the Yankees could beat the Royals, but man, what an underdog story that would be. But here's my thing, Mike. I had some friends say, hey, picking the Tigers to beat the Astros, that's a bold move. But they've had so much momentum at the end of the season that I knew they were going to steamroll. Yeah. I knew they were going to come in and just steamroll, and that's exactly what they were able to do. Now I look at San Diego and Atlanta. Atlanta's circumstances sucked. Like
Right.
they had to play in Atlanta a doubleheader and then fly to San Diego to play at Petco Park. Plus, San Diego at this point has the healthier, more consistent rotation. I think that's how they were able to get one over the Braves. Now, when I think about the Royals, really these games they were 2-1 and 1-0.
Yeah.
So it really, between the Orioles and the Rays, or I should say the Royals and the Orioles, it was a toss-up because it was 2-1 and 1-0. It was just insane pitching performances. And for me, it comes down to pitching in the postseason, but the momentum that the Tigers brought into this wild card series, for me, it was like, I think they're going to beat the Astros. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Again, they had Skubal go first. And Flaherty's with the Dodgers now. Can you imagine if the Tigers meet the Dodgers in the World Series somehow? That would be completely insane, right?
Yeah, that would be. John, did you see Jared Timms, friend of the pod? He tweeted out after Max Fried kind of fell apart in that last game with the Braves. He said, "Is it bad to tweet Max Fried to the Angels?" And I thought I got a good chuckle out of that. But I'm gonna go petty fan real quick. Okay, man, come on, Padres. I so want you to just knock those Dodgers out. And I am so glad the Astros are out of there. I love the teams that are involved, almost all the teams that are involved right now. A lot of fun teams to watch, a lot of excitement. Philly kind of has my heart because of the former Angels that are there. And so I do align with your selection of them winning the World Series.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun. Look, to be honest, the Dodgers have the firepower, but the rotation is in shambles. And San Diego, man, they got Michael King. They've got Yu Darvish. They've got so many arms and options that they can go to. And honestly, I think that they're going to be able to take it. I know that they got to play, a tough series against the Dodgers. It might go, a handful of games, but I think that they can do it. I am surprised that the Orioles were knocked off, but again, they were such close games that that's really what it comes down to with these wild card series. That's why even if the Angels could sniff a wild card at some point, and everyone can write them off and discount them, doesn't matter when these games and these series, like it's all up in the air. It's always a toss up. It's always a lot of fun. That's why I love playoff baseball. I actually really like this format that they have going on now.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, you can enjoy Locked On MLB. Sully's going to actually have more in-depth conversation about what we just talked about in our last segment, and you can check out his show. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
Well, you're going to want to click the link in the description, or you're going to want to check us out on social media, because we're asking you to put your teacher hat on, get your red pen out, and grade the players, grade the season. And as Johnny's mentioned on this show, a big giant F just on social media is not helpful. If you want to put a big giant F in the Google Doc, then that will be helpful.
Right.
But we would love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your reactions. And we'd love to talk about it all next week, starting on Monday. We're grading the players on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, we had over 300 responses last year. So let's beat that. We're on our way. And tomorrow's the Ohappy AllStar Bowl. So if you're on the fence about going, we want to see you there. We want to meet you, and we want to bowl with you.
We're going
to
shake the hand with a pin when you shake the hand of the pin when you let go of the bowling ball. I'm just talking to myself here.
Don't listen to Mike's advice. Don't listen. All right, friends. We hope you have a great weekend, and we hope to see you at the Ohappy All-Star Bowl. Until Monday's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Are you making fun of or doubting my bowling skills?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, okay. Just clarifying.
Okay, yeah. No surprises.